Cassie has officially finished her testimony. She is done. She will not be back on the stand. She did get emotional, and let's talk about what she said. Defense got to see text messages from P. Diddy around 2019 and 2020 where he had reached out to Cassie. In both March and May of 2019, he texted Cassie saying, "Sending you love." He also sent her another text message saying, "Congratulations, Cass. I truly am happy for you. You're going to make a beautiful mother. God bless." Cassie testified that she was pregnant at the time, and her response was, "Thank you. God bless." He texted her again in March of 2020, this time saying, "Miss my best friend, hope you're well." She told him she hoped he was taking care of himself and also hoped that his family was well. He texted her saying, "Thank you so much for responding. It really means a lot more than you know." He then said, "Sending you nothing but love and light always. Please know I'm always here if you need me." But that wasn't all. He once texted her saying, "Things had definitely been rough without your friendship. Nothing but love for you always." And she responded by saying she never hated him and said she wouldn't be at this beautiful point in her life without him. He responds saying, "Tears of joy. I don't even know what to say. I hope you can forgive me. We're honestly lucky to be alive. God was watching over us. We went hard." He also texted her saying that he was happy she found someone to love and respect her the way she deserved, and said, "I send this message with all respect to your marriage," and then wanted to meet up with her. The two of them never met up. One of the text messages was, "You're going to make a beautiful mother. You were always my ride or die." And she said, "I thought it was nice, but I wasn't craving it anymore." Now, the defense also tried to push this idea that Cassie was with Diddy willingly because of the perks. They asked her who she's been in the studio with besides Kid Cudi. She said Nicki Minaj, Rick Ross, Lil Wayne, Pusha T, and she even got to go to the Met Gala. The defense attorney said, "Being his girlfriend gave you access, right?" And she says, "Yes, but I learned some of that too." They brought up the fact that Cassie was also going to go on tour right before she got the $20 million settlement, but then she canceled. They said it was because now you have this money, you no longer needed to tour, and she said, "No, that wasn't the reason." At this point, cross was over and the prosecutors were able to redirect, and they definitely touched that point. They asked her, "Would you give the money back if it meant you never had to have freak-offs?" Cassie responded saying, "If I never had to have freak-offs, I would have agency and autonomy. I wouldn't have had to work so hard to get it back." Now, the defense tried to show that Diddy had this loving side, so the prosecutor asked if it ever lasted. To which she said, "No, there was always a downswing." And the prosecutor said, "What kind of world did it open up for you?" And she said, "A world of chaos." And she confirmed that during their 11-year relationship, the only person she wanted to be intimate with was Diddy. That she was constantly being pressured into having these sessions with others. Cassie also talked about the fact that she had a career, but she couldn't fulfill it because Diddy would have her canceling gigs so that they could have a freak off. And she said, "I had a whole other job, basically a worker," to which the judge said to strike that. Now again, Cassie did admit that she was open to doing it at the beginning of the relationship in order to please Diddy. She said as time went on, she did refuse more than once, but she was scared. She said, "I was worried about my safety, my career, and whether he'd stop loving me." She was also asked on redirect if she had any doubt that Diddy R-worded her, to which she said no. The prosecutor asked her, "Do you have any financial stake in the outcome of this trial?" And she said, "Absolutely not." When asked why she kept her old devices, she said she was afraid of what was on them and she couldn't even take them to the Apple store. That was asked when the defense was able to cross once again, and they said they had one final question. They said, "You just reached a $10 million settlement with Intercontinental last week before trial, right?" And she responded, "Yes." And that was the end of her testimony. I have to say, Cassie did an incredible job. She was calm, direct, she held her own, she did it with grace, strength, and bravery. I could not be more proud. She stood up there 8.5 months pregnant and told her truth, and I hope she feels like she regained her power. No matter the outcome, I truly hope she finds her peace and that she can finally move on from this nightmare. Up next is actually not Dawn, but a special agent, and I will be back for the final update.